Okay, you're good to just
cool.
do it casual.
All right. What's up, guys? We're hanging out here at the Max Academy in Apple Valley, California. We're going to be shooting some courses of fire today and putting this brand new Tract Toric 4.5 to 30 through its paces. We got the one and only Mr. Tyler Hughes that's going to run us through some various stages, and we're going to try to test this scope as much as we can today and really push it to its limits. We just zeroed up at the 100-yard line. Everything looks good, but we want to make sure that we have that solid zero because we do plan on taking a couple shots at 1 mile today. So again, we're going to definitely try to give this scope a run for its money, but so far it's been holding up great, and I can't wait to see what it does for the rest of the day.
What do you think?
The reticle is nice though. I actually like this reticle probably better than my Z-Comp or my Tangent. There we go.
I like it better than like the skimmer when I was kid. I hate the skimmer. I like to have a little something. Especially again, the 6 mil. Well, you know, okay, some of these scopes you don't see anything until 2 mils. That's fucking 500 yards. You know what I mean? There's nothing. You're still holding air out to 500 yards. Well, the skimmer.
Scope out. I'm gonna take the Allen key and slip my turrets back to 0. Basically, what I want to do is unscrew this top cap here. It'll just come right out. Pick the turret up, switch it to 0, put the top cap right back in. Now, there is this ring here that you'll take a second Allen key, and it's a clutch system, and you would slip that until it stops. But luckily, or coincidentally for me, where it stops is where my 0 is, so I don't need to do that. So I'm just gonna wind this right back in.
I guess they'd be making all kinds of shit.
And that's it. Now I can go up and I have a hard stop at 0. That's it. Same thing for the windage. I'm gonna slip it in and unscrew this little top cap here. And it does have an O-ring so that it'll protect against water, dust, dirt, and debris. Pull this off, line it up with 0. Get it lined up there, slip it back down, and once it's in this position it's locked so it can't move, so you don't have to worry about moving the turret once you've put it back and you're trying to tighten this. And then just give it a good tight right here, and that's it. And then turn it. Alright, so we're about to attempt the 1 mile target. It's actually 1,790 yards. It's on an 11-degree angle, so a little bit up the hill, so you definitely want to make sure you account for that. According to my Kestrel here, it's going to be 22.1 mils of dial. The great thing about this Tract Toric is that it has so much elevation in it that I'll be able to dial all of that without having to hold any extra in the reticle. And that brings a few advantages because it allows you to stay optically in the center without having to come down in your field of view. So also if you miss, it makes it easier to spot your misses and make corrections off of that without having to really hold at the bottom edge of your field of view, because if you have to do that, then obviously if you miss below or left or right, you might not be able to see exactly where you hit or missed to make that correction. So we're gonna attempt it. We just went 2 for 3 at the 1,200 yard target, so we're feeling kind of good. The wind isn't terrible, but we held 1/2 mil at 1,200, 0.5 to center, so we'll see what it ends up. I'm thinking maybe 8 9/10 at a mile is what I'm gonna start with, and we'll see how it goes from there. All right, so I'm gonna dial the scope for the mile target. So I'll start it at 0. That's 10, 20, and the nice thing is this has revolution indicators on it. It has lines so that you can see exactly what revolution you're on, so you know how many mils you just dialed. And that should be about it right there. Gonna lock that down just to make sure it doesn't move at all. And we'll send a couple at 1790. That's about 30 yards further than a mile, and see how we do.
You were just under the target. Bring your elevation back down to what it was. Take that 0.2 off.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold left 1 mil. Impact.
All right, so we just shot at the 1,790 yard target. That's a little over a mile, and we ended up with a 3rd round impact. Super exciting for me. I ended up having to hold a little extra elevation because of the fact that I had to account for my bullets going into the transonic region, shooting a very small caliber for that kind of distance. If I was gonna use this scope on a bigger gun and routinely take it out to a mile and 2,000 and 2,500 yards and beyond in those ELR distances, I would definitely throw a more aggressive base on it. I only have 20 MOA in here because for PRS, you don't really need that much elevation. You know, we're usually shooting maybe 1,400 yards max. But this scope is capable of a lot more because it has so much internal elevation. Again, it has about 40 mils of internal elevation from what I counted from top to bottom. So with an extra 20 MOA in here for a total of 40 MOA, this thing would easily be able to dial to the mile and beyond for what I needed. But 3rd round impact held about 0.7, 0.8 wind, so initial wind call was pretty good based on what we were kind of feeling out here. Not a whole lot of wind, but enough to make a little bit of difference. So it was a lot of fun. We're gonna go shoot some other courses of fire over here and do some more dynamic shooting, some obstacles and stuff like that, but tracks out to a mile, so far so good. Oh, there's only 2 targets out there. The 3rd one's broken.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Oh yeah, tactical dial. Damn it. All right, so this next course of fire is going to be a brick wall. Our target is pretty close. It's 270 yards, but it's on a major uphill about 22 degrees up the hill. So definitely have to try to account for that. I think I'm going to go for a position kind of in the middle of the wall that I can build a solid foundation between my elbow and my knee, something where I can get kneeling. If I can't do that, I'm going to see if I can get lower, maybe even a high prone. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I was able to find a comfortable position where I actually wound up sitting with both of my knees touching my elbows, so real solid. Got an impact on the first one, looked pretty centered up. Went for the second one and I missed that one. I just didn't hold enough wind, but honestly, man, the scope is tracking great. The glass is good enough that I can see my impacts and see my misses, so we'll move on to the next stage and see how we do. All right, so next stage, we're gonna be shooting off of that bridge right there. I'm gonna try to pick a lower position to keep that center of gravity low, minimize the reticle wobble. Scope is still tracking fantastic. Went 2 for 2 on the last stage, so hopefully we can do the same on this one. All right, so we just shot the bridge. I was able to hit both targets, 2 for 2, so that was pretty awesome. I was able to get into a lower position, dial the scope to my dope, sent 2, both impacts, so we're gonna keep rocking and rolling. Okay, so we're gonna take a couple shots at a closer target, 238 yards, so nothing too crazy. First position is gonna be right here. Set my bag down. I'm then going to dial my scope 7/10. I love that these numbers are so big because it's much easier to see. I'm then going to acquire the target.
Does anybody know this? Yeah, it's ours.
Which you're gonna have to cut this part out because I lost it. Where the fuck did it go? Jesus Christ. Remember that time I couldn't find a target?
7 hours later.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So let me reposition that. Now that I found it. Okay. Somewhere right about there. Okay. After the target's been located and we dial, we'll send one. Okay, change positions. Because it's the same target, I leave my scope dialed. Locking turrets ensure that it doesn't slip or get bumped to a different dial. Okay, and last position, repeat, same thing. There you go.
Yep.
All right, so we just finished our day here at Max Ordnance Academy. So once again, shout out to them for letting us come out here and hang out, shoot a few different courses of fire, and try to put this new Tract Toric through its paces. Once again, this is the 4.5 to 30 by 56 millimeter. It's a brand new scope for them, but honestly, it's pretty awesome. So we did a few different dynamic positions today. We shot around a car, inside a car. We did some rooftops. We did some natural terrain shooting, rocks, barricades, pretty much everything. We even did the mile shot, or just a little bit over a mile. And honestly, the scope performed perfectly. We had it, you know, banging up against barricades, banging up against cinder blocks. I'm carrying the rifle like a, by the scope like a carry handle, and this thing is not a light rifle by any stretch. This is probably a 22-pound rifle, and I'm just picking it up by the scope, and it's still held true on the tracking, held true on the zero, no issues at all. A few features that I love about this is, one, the locking turret. So when I walk up to a stage and I dial my dope and then I lock down my turret, I know that it's not going to accidentally move both the elevation and the windage lock, which I really like. You don't want any of those. Missed points, the parallax again goes down to 25, which I love because we didn't bring it out today, but you could easily throw this on a 22 rifle and go and shoot 22 matches. It's got plenty of elevation, and it's actually got the 4.5 to 30, and with a 22 you can use all of that magnification range from the bottom to the top end because there's no recoil, and you'll be able to focus in at 25. We didn't use the illumination today because we were out in daylight, but it does have some great illumination settings. It's 1 through 11 with an off in between each position, so that's really awesome. Again, we didn't use it today, but maybe next time we will. The other thing that I like about this is the reticle. So the reticle, we're going to try to get in the video for you to put a visual image in there, but basically because the tree extends all the way down, it allows you to hold for a bunch more elevation. So as I explained in the mile shot, I ended up having to top out the maximum adjustment of the elevation that I have available to me, and then still hold an additional 1.5 mils in the reticle. But I was able to hit the target because in the reticle I was able to bracket the target for both my wind and my elevation because of the tree and the reference marks. Otherwise I would have been holding out an empty space and it would have been much harder to hit. So definitely thankful for the reticle. I love the design. If you guys see on the main horizontal stadia, it's 0.2 increments, but the other thing that I love is that it has the 0.5 as a quick reference. So if you know, oh man, that target, I'm gonna start with a 0.5 wind hold, you have a quick reference point right there. 0.5, there's a little hash, so it's super easy, super fast. As well as the elevation going down, and on the tree, 0.2s. So a really, really useful reticle all the way around. Super easy to read, not too much information like some that are just super busy with a whole bunch of stuff going on, but enough that you can really get by for both centerfire and for 22, especially if you try to do some 22 ELR as well. You know, 600 yards with a 22 is definitely doable, especially with something like this. So you saw the whole process. We started up zeroing the scope, slipping the turrets back to 0. Nothing crazy going on there, pretty straightforward process. Then you saw us dial it a bunch. I pretty much made it a point today to dial for most every target, because obviously we know that it's possible to hold over in the reticle for the targets, but we want to make sure that the tracking stays true no matter how many times I'm going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and lock and unlock. We want to make sure that mechanically it holds up, and honestly it really did. And as you can see, we're out here in kind of more of a desert environment, so you got that fine grit sand. It's, you know, getting in the magazines, getting on the rounds, stuff like that. And yeah, the scope is a little beat up, it's a little dusty, but still running like Old Faithful. It's still holding true, and that's really what matters, honestly. So once again, a big shout out to Tract for letting us kind of abuse this scope really for a few weeks now and put it through its paces. And honestly, I think that it has a lot of features for the price point that it's coming in at. It's a great scope. And you know, I can't wait to see the final production models. Once again, this was a prototype, but from what I was told, this is basically the final prototype, so there shouldn't be any changes to the production models from this. So excited to see it down the line, and I hope to see some of you guys at future matches running this scope.